Jansen Harris here with the Just Good Network. I am dropping my top 5 receivers list right now. Let's get started with Terrence Mathis. Some of y'all might be too young to have seen him play, but he was an absolute beast. Played with the Falcons from 1994 to 2001. And what was great about him was he was drafted in 1990. He was more of a kick returner, punt specialist type of guy. Didn't really have much production with the Jets. 28 catches, 329 yards, and a touchdown. Just not really a lot of great things going for him. But guess what? He set the club record with the Falcons in 1994, 111 catches. Become the 8th player in the NFL history to exceed 100 catch mark. And just think, he did that coming from a background of not really getting much of a chance with the Jets, nothing really popping off. He finished 3rd in the NFL in touchdowns also in 94. That was a breakout season. Made the Pro Bowl, absolute monster. Let's talk about 1998 when he made the Super Bowl with the Falcons, also the first time the Falcons made the Super Bowl. Led the team in receptions, 7 catches, 85 yards. The following season, he passed Andre Rison as the club's all-time leading receiver, and then he passed him on the all-time touchdown list as well. Falcons unfortunately cut him shortly after that, but he is the Falcons' 2nd all-time touchdown reception guy and 3rd with the most receiving yards. So I have him at number 5. Number 4 on the list. It's a tough list, and again, I'm going back a little bit. I'm going back in the day. Let's go Alfred Jenkins. Alfred Jenkins played with the Falcons. He played 9 seasons with the Falcons from 1975 to 1983. Alfred Jenkins is a 2-time Pro Bowler, All NFL in 1981. 360 receptions in his career, 67 receiving yards and 40 touchdowns. And let's talk about now some of his biggest seasons. Let's talk about 1981. Homie had 70 catches, 1,358 receiving yards, 13 touchdowns. That was his best season. Even the season before that, 1980, over 1,000 yards catching, 6 touchdowns. And what I like about him was his career average, man. It wasn't no garbage yards. When he caught passes, he caught it for a lot of length, averaging 17 yards a catch. Just a straight beast, a straight monster. So, my number 3 guy on the list is Andre Rison. Played with the Falcons from 1990 to 1994. On September 20th, 1990, the Indianapolis Colts traded Rison, Chris Hinton, a 5th-round draft pick in the 1990 draft, and their 1st-round draft pick on the 1991 NFL draft to the Falcons for their 1st overall pick, the 4th pick in the 1990 draft. So a lot of shit went on for them to get Andre Rison. The Colts, they ended up trading to select Jeff George, which he's a bust. But anyways, Rison, he finished near the top of categories of all the major categories, 15 receiving touchdowns in 1993. He was only the 5th receiver in NFL history to score 60 touchdowns in his first 6 seasons. He led the NFL in most receptions his first 4 out of 5 seasons. So let's not forget how great this guy was. This dude was an absolute monster. And just to throw it in there, Lisa Left Eye Lopez from TLC burnt his house down. That was a big story at the time. But let's just talk strictly on his Falcons career, his Falcons numbers. some of the stuff he was able to do in his career accolades. 1990, first team All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, 3 times second team All-Pro, 92nd Grey Cup champion, career stats, 743 receptions, 10,205 receiving yards, 84 touchdowns. And when we look at Rison and what he ended up doing, think about it. Didn't even play that long with the Falcons, but he ends up over Terrence Mathis, in my opinion. 56 touchdowns, 5,633 receiving yards. He didn't play that long. He only played 78 games as a Falcon. You feel me? So just think about it like that. I got two guys on the list. Is pretty obvious in the order, but I just want y'all to know how good Andre Rison was. And maybe if he played for the Falcons longer, he could have even been better. So, and I want to point to stuff like this. And I'm reading it right now. 4 out of his 5 seasons, 1,000 yards and 81 receptions that season. So Rison was a monster. He was a really, really good receiver for the Falcons, that some might not remember. So next on this list, from 2005 to 2015, Roddy White. Most people remember watching Roddy White play. He is a fan favorite. He is the guy who played 11 years in the NFL with the Falcons, and he's the first Falcon ever to eclipse 10,000 yards. First entered the league in 2005. Basically, Michael Jenkins was there. Algie Crumpler played a big role. Mike Vick was there, and hey, maybe if he played with a more accurate quarterback, no shade to Vick, his numbers would be even better. So put that into perspective. Roddy White was an absolute monster. So, if you take a couple of the first years out, 61% catch percentage, second best all-time in Falcons history for a primary target. So, Roddy White, man, not just a great player, great teammate, always was a leader for the Falcons. Every time the Falcons needed a big catch, he got it. And we're going to get to our number one guy in Julio Jones, but also helped groom Julio Jones. So let's not forget about his impact. Let's not forget about that at all. So when I'm breaking down his numbers, his best seasons, 2007, 1,200 plus yards. 2008, same thing. So basically, he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons with at least 1,200 yards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons with at least 1,000 yards receiving. Another season in 2014, the year before, he was going to retire, 921 receiving yards. So just put that in perspective. He didn't miss a lot of games, okay? Outside of his 2005-2016 season, he's basically played for the majority, didn't have any major injuries. He was durable. And when we look at the touchdowns, he's had at least 7 touchdown receptions in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons. So his numbers speak for himself. His Falcon franchise records: most receiving yards in a half, 185, beast. Most receptions in a playoff game, 11. Most receiving touchdowns in a career, 63. Most receptions in a career, 808. Most career starts for a receiver, 149. Most games played as a wide receiver for the Falcons, 171 games. So Roddy White really stayed out of trouble. He's the type of guy who easily could be number one on this list for a lot of teams, but number one on the list, he's going to go down with every major record for the Falcons. I consider him the best receiver right now in the league. The monster himself, Julio Jones, absolute monster. Spent his whole career since 2011 with the Falcons. Again, he was learning the game from Roddy White, but hey, day one, this guy was a beast. 7-time Pro Bowler, 2 times first-team All-Pro, 3-time second-team All-Pro, which I'm surprised he even gets on the second team. It should always be the first team. 2-time receiving yards leader, NFL reception co-leader in 2015. He had a great career at Alabama, won a national championship in 2009. Straight monster. He's from Alabama, so he went to Alabama, obviously. Since day one, Julio Jones has really been on people's radar. He's just a freak of nature. 6'2", 220, runs a 4.9. Just think about that. He's big and fast as hell, just to be transparent. Julio Jones is an absolute monster. He has NFL records, seasons with at least 1,600 yards. Yeah. He's tied with Marvin Harrison, Antonio Brown, Calvin Johnson. Most games with 250-plus yards with 3. Most games with 300 yards receiving. He's tied with a bunch of other players. Fastest to 7,000 career receiving yards. Fastest to 9,000 career receiving yards. The list goes on. Most consecutive seasons with 1,300 yards. Tied with Torrey Holt. I could just read it all off. And I didn't even get to the Falcons side. Most seasons with at least 1,000 yards, 7 with the Falcons. Most career receiving yards for the Falcons, he got that. Most career games with at least 100 receiving yards in the regular season, 55. The list goes on. I'm not even going to read all of it, but you get the point. Julio was number 1 on this list. He's a monster. The only knock on Julio Jones would be that he doesn't score enough touchdowns. Whoop-de-damn dude. He only has 57 career touchdowns, but a lot plays into that. You're talking about a guy that literally, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons with at least 1,300 receiving yards. Think about that. 2015, he had 1,800 receiving yards. Are you serious? 136 receptions. Just think about that. And he has an NFL record for averaging 96.2 yards a game. So Julio Jones is easily the best receiver in Falcons history. And we could sit here and probably put him in the top 10 of all time of NFL receivers, period. You guys let me know what you think of the list. To recap it, number 5, Terrence Mathis. Number 4, Alfred Jenkins. Number 3, Andre Rison. Number 2, Roddy White. And number 1, of course, Julio Jones. Like, comment, subscribe below. Let me know who you guys think is the best receivers in Falcons history, or your list, or if you would change anything around. Also, if you have any ideas of Falcon videos I could make, or Atlanta videos on the Hawks, Atlanta United, just let me know. I am Jansen Harris with the Just Good Network.